How can my wife, a millionaire's wife, be frying akara? You're embarrassing me.
Since you don't want to establish me, I am determined to establish myself.
Have you ever seen a rich man's wife who cannot afford the basic things of life by herself? A woman whose husband has millions in his bank account, yet she has to ask for money before she can even buy a pair of pants. A woman who can go for months without getting her hair done, not because she does not care about her appearance, but because she's waiting for her husband to give her money. That was Nneka's life. From the outside, nobody could have guessed it. She was married to Obum, a wealthy businessman whose name was known in their town. He owned several shops, had workers under him, drove expensive cars, and lived in a beautiful house. Whenever Nneka went out with him, people looked at her with admiration. Some people even envied her. See this woman, they would say. She married so well, and Nneka would smile. She had no reason to explain that being married to a wealthy man did not mean she had money of her own. Obum provided everything in the house. There was food, there was electricity, there was a housemaid who handled most of the housework. If they needed anything from the market, the maid went. If the children needed something, it was provided. Nneka was comfortable, but she was not financially independent. If she needed sanitary pads, she asked. Even when she wanted something as ordinary as a pair of pants, she had to wait until Obum gave her money, and Obum never gave her more than what he believed she needed. If she said, I need 20,000 naira, he would send exactly 20,000 naira. If she later remembered that she needed something else, she had to ask again. She became so used to it that she did not even consider it strange anymore. Sometimes, vendors came to their house with clothes, shoes, handbags, and other beautiful things. Because of the kind of house Nneka lived in and the kind of husband she had, the vendors assumed she would buy whatever they brought. But Nneka would look at the items and say unapologetically, I can't afford this. Some of them did not believe her. They would look at her. Madam, you? Nneka would simply smile. She knew what they did not know. She was not the one controlling the money. After some time, people started calling her stingy. They would say she had money but did not like spending it. Nneka never defended herself because what was she supposed to say? That the expensive car parked outside belonged to her husband? That the beautiful house belonged to her husband and that she could not take 10,000 naira from the business without asking him? It sounded unbelievable, so she kept quiet. There was another part of her life that people found even more confusing. Nneka worked in one of Obum's shop. She had a university education, but she did not have a job of her own. Every morning she would dress up and go to the shop. There were salespeople. There was a cashier. There were other workers. Yet Nneka had no official position and received no salary. She simply sat there and supervised the workers. Whenever someone came into the shop and saw her, they greeted her respectfully. Oga, madam, she would smile and answer them. Obum had explained why he wanted her there. I don't want my workers doing rubbish when I'm not around, he had told her. Once they know my wife is there, they will be careful. Nneka accepted the explanation. She believed she was helping her husband. If a worker made a mistake, she reported it. If a customer complained, she handled it. If Obum traveled, she kept her eye on the business. She was effectively working in the shop, but she was not paid. Even the business money was not hers to touch. There was a cashier whose job was to release and receive money. Nneka could sit in the shop from morning until evening, yet if she needed 5,000 naira for herself, she could not simply take it from the business. She had to call her husband. Sometimes she would see the amount of money passing through the shop and wonder how different her life would be if she had something of her own. But the thought never stayed long. She would push it away. After all, she told herself, I am married. My husband takes care of me. There was nothing wrong with that, or so she believed. Even her phone depended on Obum's Wi-Fi. At home, she connected to the house Wi-Fi, and at the shop, she connected to the business Wi-Fi. If she went somewhere without Wi-Fi, she was practically offline. Her life became a routine. Wake up, take care of the house, go to the shop, return home, ask Obum whenever she needs money, sleep, and repeat. She was not unhappy about the routine. That was the strange part. Sometimes when she saw other married women struggling to pay rent or feed their children, she thanked God for her own life. She did not know that a person could be comfortable and still be stuck. Obum, on his part, did not think he was doing anything wrong either. In his mind, he was providing for his wife. He did not understand why she needed her own money when he was already giving her everything she asked for. One beautiful day, Nneka was in the shop sitting in her Oga Madam spot when she saw a tweet. A young lady had asked a simple question. How could you as a married woman spend years building your husband while allowing your own dreams to disappear? Nneka continued reading. The tweet talked about women who had gone to school, married and eventually became unpaid workers in their husbands' businesses. Women who had to ask for money whenever they needed food. Women who asked for money to buy personal items. Women who supported their husbands but had nothing of their own. The writer was not saying that a woman should abandon her marriage or refuse to support her husband. She was saying something else. Support your husband, but do not abandon yourself. Nneka read that sentence several times. Then she went to the comments. That was where things became uncomfortable. Some women shared their own experiences. One woman said she had worked in her husband's business for years without receiving a salary. Another said she had to ask her husband for money even when she wanted something as small as food. Another said she had spent years taking care of her family while her husband became successful, only to realize that she had nothing to fall back on when the son of Adam decided to betray her. Nneka stopped reading. She looked around the shop. The cashier was counting money. A salesman was arranging goods. A customer was making a payment. Then she looked at herself. She was sitting there without a salary. Suddenly, the words unpaid worker felt personal. She picked up her phone again. Another comment caught her attention. The woman who wrote it said she had once believed that being completely dependent on her husband was proof that her marriage was successful. Years later, she realized that she had confused being provided for with having a life of her own. Nneka locked her phone. She could no longer concentrate. That evening, she went home earlier than usual. She sat alone in her room. She thought about her education. She remembered the dreams she had before marriage. She had once wanted to own a business. She had once imagined herself becoming financially independent. She had once believed she would build something meaningful. When had all of that disappeared? She could not remember. Then she asked herself one question and answered it honestly. If my parents call me now for any emergency, can I shoulder it? Nneka, no. And what if Obum decides he won't give me the money to travel? Is there a way I can move out of this town? That was when she laughed at herself because the answer was obvious. Obum came home around 7. Nneka waited until they had eaten before speaking. Obum, I want to talk to you. He looked at her. What happened? I don't want to continue going to the shop like this. Like what? I work there every day, but I don't earn anything. Obum frowned. Are you saying I don't take care of you? No, that's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Nneka took a deep breath. I want to establish something for myself. Obum looked at her. Something like what? I want my own business. You already have a business. No, Obum, that's your business. He laughed. My wife is suddenly a businesswoman. Nneka did not laugh because this matter is beyond shining 132. I have been helping you with that shop for years, she said. I want something I can build for myself as well. Obum's expression changed. Who have you been talking to? Nobody, she replied. Then, why are you saying these things now? Because I've been thinking about my life. Obum leaned back. Nneka, what exactly do you lack? She was quiet. I have given you everything you need. You live comfortably. You don't pay bills. You don't struggle. What else do you want? I want to have something of my own. Obum shook his head. Then he said something Nneka never expected to hear from him. If I give you money to start a business, how do I know you won't start misbehaving? You know you women are only loyal to someone who you depend on. I am saying this because I know how women behave when they start having access to money. Any small thing now, you will pack out because you can provide for yourself. She could not believe what she was hearing. Obum, is this really coming from you? Wait, if I was your sister, would you have preferred I stayed dependent on a man all my life, even as a graduate? Nneka, don't make this thing emotional. I am not making it emotional. Anything can happen in life. I need to start making my own money. See my account balance. She brought out her OP. It was 0.00 naira. Yet, I am answering Oga Madam, she said. Before I got married, I was working, but you asked me to stop and manage your business. Who bears the name manager without being paid? Obum stood up. If you are no longer comfortable working at the shop, then stop going. Nneka looked at him. Really? Yes, stay at home. The next morning, Nneka did not go to the shop. She stayed at home. For the first time in years, she had no work to do and she also had no money. Around noon, she became bored. You know all those unnecessary arrangements one can begin to do because he or she is idle, yeah? Exactly. That was what she began to do until a miracle happened. Is it a miracle now? Well, I don't know how best to describe it. She saw 5,000 naira in one of Obum's old attire. She could swear he had forgotten about that money. She collected it, and in that money she saw a ladder. In that money, she also saw 5 loaves of bread, 2 fishes, and 12 baskets. I hope you understand what this means. She just prayed a very simple prayer of multiplication. The emergency arrangement stopped. She went straight to the market and bought beans, onions, pepper, and groundnut oil. She returned home, and by evening she had made her decision. She will not beg Obum for money. She will start with whatever she had. She will start frying akara, and the location she had in mind was directly in front of her husband's shop. By 7 o'clock the next day, the akara was ready. Of course, you don't expect someone who fries akara and someone who sits as Oga Madam to dress the same way. She had to dress accordingly. She tied a wrapper around her waist and covered her hair with a scarf. People were shocked and they started gossiping. Ah, there is trouble in paradise, oh. Maybe she's not seeing shishi. So she wants to get at her husband by staying right in front of his shop. This one is not good at all. As they were gossiping, they were also patronizing her. Some wanted to test the akara and criticize her, but their plans failed because the akara was buy one and keep coming back here. Nneka ignored all the whispers. She concentrated on her work. She collected money, gave customers their food and continued frying. Obum's workers couldn't believe their eyes when they came, but who were they to ask Madam questions? When Obum came, he almost thought he was hallucinating. He stepped out of his car, cleaned his eyes. For a few seconds he said nothing because he was still trying to process everything. Then his face changed. Nneka! She looked at him. Good morning, my darling husband. What kind of embarrassment is this? Selling akara because I need money is now an embarrassment, she asked. Before I open my eyes, clear everything and go home. Nneka shook her head. I am working. Working? He lowered his voice. Do you know what you are doing to me? Nneka looked at him calmly. You told me to stop going to your shop. No, I told you to stay at home and be wasting away while you build your own life. Obum, how selfish. Nneka, you are my wife and selling akara doesn't befit your status. He looked around again. A few of his workers were pretending not to listen. People were also watching. Obum was clearly embarrassed. Nneka, please stop this nonsense. Nonsense in making money legitimately? Okay, Nneka, I will give you money. How much do you want? She looked at him. That's the problem. What problem? I don't want to keep asking you for money. Obum looked at her. I have never refused to give you money. I know. Then what exactly are you complaining about? Nneka put another spoonful of akara into the hot oil. I want to earn my own money. I worked in your shop for years. No, he interrupted. You are my wife. You didn't work here. You were only helping me. Exactly. I was helping you, she pressed. But what was I doing for myself? Obum had no answer. Trust all these fearless street boys now? One asked. Oga, what will it even take you to establish your wife? Madam, abeg, give me 200 naira akara. Obum felt embarrassed and wanted to scatter everywhere, but people around didn't let him do it. One elderly man told him, if you don't want the wife of a millionaire to fry akara by the roadside, then simply do the needful by establishing her. Obum became deeply embarrassed. He wanted to argue, but he knew that every word would make the situation worse. He looked at his wife again. For the first time, he understood that she was serious. This was not just about akara. It was about the fact that his wife had finally stopped waiting for him. He walked back into the car and drove home. When Nneka was done, she went home and Obum was so angry with her. There was nothing he didn't say, and Nneka replied, get ready to say more things because tomorrow, next week, next month, I will be there frying akara until I'm being able to establish myself. The next day she went there, and that day wasn't funny at all because Obum received it hot from people. That night he said to her, I have decided to open a cosmetic shop. Nneka asked one simple question. Will it be mine? Yes, he replied. Nneka appreciated him, but he didn't expect what she said next. We will have to legalize it. Obum looked at her. Nneka, who have you been listening to? Well, if that's what you want, I will stop giving you money. Nneka almost smiled because he had never dashed a reasonable amount, so she agreed. The following week, Obum rented a shop for her. It was nothing compared to the businesses he owned. The space was small. There were only a few chefs. The first batch of goods was modest, but when Nneka stood inside the shop on the morning it opened, she felt good. She arranged the cosmetics carefully. Then she prayed and opened the door. Her first customer walked in. Nneka smiled. Good morning. What would you like? She had no idea how far that little shop would take her, but she was ready to find out. She didn't treat the shop as a gift from her husband. She treated it as an opportunity. The shop was small and the first stock was not much, but she was determined to make it work. Every morning, she opened early. She cleaned the shelves, arranged the products, and checked her records. At first, business was slow. Some days, she sold only a few items. She did not complain. Instead, she started paying attention to what customers bought most. She noticed that women frequently asked for body creams, perfumes, hair products, lip gloss, and other affordable beauty items. She began stocking more of those products. Whenever she made a profit, she put it back into the business. She did not spend anything at all. After several months, the shop began to change. The shelves became fuller. Customers increased. Nneka also became more confident. She no longer waited for Obum to decide what she could buy. She negotiated with suppliers herself. She compared prices and she kept proper records. One afternoon, Obum visited her shop. He looked around and he was shocked. You have added more things? You are really serious with this your business thing? No. Tell me, do you need more money from me? Nneka shook her head. No, sir. Obum looked at her. That answer was new to him. For years, whenever Nneka needed money, she came to him. Now she was standing in her own shop telling him she did not need his money. Nneka continued working. She began saving. She opened an account for the business, and for the first time she had money that nobody could question her about. If she wanted to make her hair, she paid for it herself. If she wanted new clothes, she bought them herself. If she needed data, she recharged her phone herself. The small things gave her satisfaction. A few years after opening the shop, she rented a second shop. Then she hired a sales girl. She remembered how she had worked in Obum's business without receiving a salary, so she refused to do the same to someone else. Her worker received her salary every month, and Nneka also treated her well. The second shop did better than the first because the salesperson worked in a very conducive atmosphere, and as a result, she gave it her all. Nneka attended business exhibitions and met other women who were also building businesses. She was no longer simply Obum's wife. People began knowing her by her own name, and that's the beauty of the whole transformation. Obum loved it for her, and so one day he said to her, "I didn't know you would become this serious." "I have always been serious," she replied. "I just never had the chance to prove it." The words stayed with him. Obum had provided Nneka with everything he thought a wife needed, but he had never understood that she needed something money alone could not give her, which was a sense of purpose. One afternoon, a woman who knew her from years ago visited one of her shops. She looked around in disbelief. "Is this all yours?" Nneka smiled. "Yes. I remember when people used to say you were stingy." Nneka laughed. "They thought I had money and refused to spend it," she said. She did not explain further. She had no need to. Her life was already the explanation. At home, things had also changed. Obum no longer gave her 20,000 naira. He now gave her money according to her words. Please, does that ring a bell? He started giving her money according to her words. He began telling people about her business, and when someone asked how she had grown so quickly, he would say, "She worked for it." Nneka always smiled whenever she heard him say that because she remembered how the whole journey started. If she had not pulled that akara stunt, she would have remained in that position of a gas wife with an empty pocket. She also remembered the young lady whose post had opened her eyes. She had never met her. She did not know where the woman lived or what her life was like, but Nneka often thanked God for her. She had never been able to thank her personally, but she prayed for her. Nneka also began using her success to help other women. One of them was a woman who stayed near one of her shops. Nneka had noticed that the woman often came out with bruises. One day, she confirmed her fears. Her husband was beating her in the streets. Nneka rushed outside and stopped him. "What's happening?" The woman was crying. Her husband was angry because she had fed the children with the last meal, leaving nothing for him to eat. After he left, Nneka sat with the woman. "How long has this been happening?" The woman wiped her tears and told her. Nneka looked at her. "What do you do to earn money?" The woman hesitated. "Nothing for now, ma, but I would love to make shoes, but I don't have money for the training." Nneka asked her to go find out how much the training will cost. The woman went, came back and told her. Nneka paid for it. She also told her, "When you start learning, I will give you some of my goods on credits. Sell them, return my money and keep your profits." The woman was surprised. "You will trust me with your goods?" "Yes," Nneka replied, "but don't disappoint me." The woman knelt down, appreciated her and told her she wouldn't. She kept to her words. She sold the goods, returned Nneka's money and kept her profits. She repeated the process while learning shoemaking. When she finished her training, Nneka used part of the money Obum had given her to rent a small place for the woman. She bought some materials and helped her start. The woman did not waste the opportunity. She concentrated on her work. She saved her money. She improved her skills, and slowly her business grew. As her income improved, the major reason for the constant quarrels in her home disappeared. Her husband could no longer use money as an excuse to insult or beat her. More importantly, the woman was a solid thanksgiver. She never failed to appreciate Nneka no matter how little it was. Nneka advised her to do something she considered very important. Whenever you meet a woman who is in the same situation you were once in, help her if you can. She explained that women supporting women is about helping a woman who genuinely wants to change her situation. The woman took her advice. She began helping other women who wanted to learn a trade or start something small. Some were serious, Some were not, but she never allowed the unserious ones to change the way she treated the serious ones. She did not say, I helped someone before and she wasted my money, so I will never help someone again. Instead, she became more careful about who she helped. Nneka also learnt this lesson herself. There were women she had helped financially to start businesses, only for them to take the money home and use it to cook for their abusive husbands. When the money finished, the beating continued. Some will return to her with bruises and ask for help again. After the second or third time, Nneka stopped giving them money. It was not because she did not care. She had simply learned that she could not want a woman's freedom more than the woman wanted it herself. She focused on the women who were serious about changing their lives. Those were the women she trained, supported, and encouraged, and some of them succeeded. At any given opportunity, Nneka never stopped talking about financial independence in marriage. She was not telling women to hate their husbands, and she was not telling women to abandon their homes. Whenever she spoke to women, she always remembered the years when she could not buy ordinary things without asking Obum, her husband. Then she would say, support your husband, build your home, but don't forget to build yourself as well. And whenever someone questioned why she spoke so strongly about women having their own money, she had just one answer. She would say, when the Bible says money is a defense, it was not missing words. She knew exactly what she meant. Money could not solve every problem. It could not guarantee a peaceful marriage. It could not replace love, but having something of your own could give a woman choices. It could give her confidence and could give her the ability to walk away from situations she had once endured because she had nowhere else to go. My dear Karma tribe, if there is one thing I want you to take away from Nneka's story, it is this. Stop waiting until you have everything before you start. Some of you have been waiting for the perfect capital. You have been waiting until you have enough money, the perfect shop, the perfect equipment, the perfect location, or until someone comes to give you a large amount of money. But what if what you have now is enough to begin? Look inward. What do you have in your hands? What skill do you have? What little money do you have? What can you make? What can you sell? What can you start from your room, your kitchen, your phone, or even by your roadside? Start with it. Remember, when Jesus fed the multitude, it did not begin with an abundance. It began with what was available. 5 loaves and 2 fish were placed in his hands, and he used what looked small to feed a multitude. The God who multiplied those little loaves and fishes is the same God today. The Bible says, though thy beginning was small, yet the latter end should greatly increase. Do not despise your small beginning. You may look at what you have today and think it is little, but I'm here to tell you, brother, sister, it is not. Start with it. Remember Moses. When God called him, God asked him, what is that in thy hand? God did not ask Moses what he wished he had. He asked what he already had. That should make you look at your own life differently. What is in your hand? What have you been ignoring because you think it is too small? What skill have you buried? What idea keeps coming back to you again and again? What can you start with what you already have? Maybe you cannot open the bishop today. Start small. Maybe you cannot buy all the equipment. Start with what you can afford. Maybe you cannot employ 10 people. My dear friend, start alone. Maybe you cannot make millions today. Make your first sale, then make another. Learn, improve, grow, and trust God with the little you have. Nneka's first shop was small. It did not look like the business she eventually built, but she started. That is the point. You do not need to see the whole staircase before taking the first step. Launch out. Put what you have in God's hands and do your part. Pray, work, learn, Be consistent and watch what God can do with something you once thought was too small. May God bless the work of our hands, enlarge our capacities, and give us the wisdom to recognize the opportunities He had already placed around us. Go out right now and launch out. Don't just scroll past. Give the story a thumbs up. Share out to your loved ones. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, I honestly don't know what you are waiting for. Punch that subscribe button so that you can join the Karma tribe free of charge. And you have a true story to share with us, please reach us at eziafa4@gmail.com. It will be in the description of this video. Until I bring the next interesting story your way, it's a goodbye from here, and God bless you.